started yet.
Yeah, wait till the bells sound.
We're not talking
Then you come out of your corner with your
Well,
nuts up.
We're not talking about numbers yet, so.
I'm a little scared by this.
Yeah.
You're good with the
How
first
long
one,
is
huh?
this meeting gonna be?
That's when you can get into trouble with
But look at
leaving
it.
time.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
Easter.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
And this, I plan on following Sean.
Are these for you?
Yeah, I would volunteer with him. He and I went back and forth on it.
Bring cookies to the board
That's
meeting.
hilarious.
No, messing with Tiny, she's already got it figured out.
What is it kind of?
Oh, wait.
Oh, that is an
Come here,
transmission
come here.
stone.
Oh, I would like that.
Okay.
Don't be shy.
Do you want a stone?
No, I don't want one, I'm not hungry.
No.
Well, I can get you one while we're.
Not good.
Oh, this is.
Sean, are you,
It's all good.
Spencer, you looking good?
Yeah.
I was writing Sean
I
down
know,
and
so
then I
here we
took
go.
that
I
one.
wanted to score that
Change
one
your
because
name.
I
Yeah, let
like
me know when you guys are ready.
the Trader
Yeah.
Joe's orange stone.
Kick from breakfast.
There you go.
All right.
We're good? All right, good evening, welcome. August 7th, 2026, 7 p.m. regular board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Tonight's roll call, we have Sean and Rob excused. Everyone else is present, except for Lori.
Lori's excused. She
Lori,
sent us
she
a note
Oh,
way
she did.
early.
Oh, that's right,
She
she's seeing
did
Mickey Mouse.
send a note.
Mhm.
I saw
Okay.
that.
I did.
So we got Sean, Rob, and Lori excused.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt the
Could I,
agenda.
make a question, really,
Yes,
about
sir.
the responses to member comments?
Yes.
This is gonna be an ongoing thing, right?
We're actually debating that a little bit, but yes, it will be ongoing, but whether it's actually in form of this meeting, I just doing it tonight because we said we were, and
Yeah,
I
well-
follow up in the newspaper as a column. And the reason why is every board member actually should be part of the response.
Yeah, I think, I like the direction it's heading, but I'm wondering if this is gonna always be a response to the previous week, maybe it should be before the member comments?
Well, we're supposed to give member comments first.
I mean, it's supposed to.
It's required that, like if you read the bylaw things, we give them up front in the meeting.
Okay, but this is from the subsequent meeting, right?
This would be for the last meeting, yes.
So that's why I was asking if this is gonna be an ongoing thing where we'll always be responding to the previous meeting, or?
So that we can take some
Yeah.
time and think about our answers and not give an incorrect answer off the cuff.
Yeah, I like that.
And we kind of realized we should have gotten to you earlier, so next time we'll
The
have.
whole board to comment on the responses.
Yeah, so I think that's great, but I'm just wondering if it should be before, if it's possible to put it before. If you're saying we can't because of, I don't know, Robert's rules or whatever, but it seems like it makes sense it would be before, and then the comments can come after that, then we respond, so it's
Well, the idea is property owners can give their comments tonight, we'll take. Okay,
We're missing the point.
Questions, oh, you have yours up first, go ahead.
I think what he's trying to say is we're gonna respond to what questions came up at the last meeting.
Mhm.
Correct.
And then,
So that would be fairly relevant before there was new comments tonight.
yeah,
They
that's
could hear the response and they might be talking about, might bring up what we just answered the week before because somebody wasn't here.
All right,
It seemed like, ask the question, get it responded to, and then you start a new format again.
yeah.
And then we get
that's
some
exactly what I'm
new
saying.
questions, and then the next week we answer them.
I'll go Mitch and then Gene.
I've advocated that we give them an answer to their comments, because the members will do it. But this is a meeting, not a debate.
Correct.
And so my concern is to not open up or set up our agenda, so we set up a debate forum. They make a comment, and what you've proposed, I think it's a good one, is take the time, so it's not a shoot from the hip answer and a factual answer, and it comes back to them. So, member comments first, board response to previous. Next week, we'll give board response to the next, but it's not a debate, and I think if you put it in front, you're opening up a debate.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree, hang on, we go with Jean.
That was actually gonna be one of my comments, is that, yes, it could start becoming a debate, so I agree with Mitch. And, the other thing is, the format that's been decided, hasn't actually been decided on, is that we said we're trying this now, but how this ends up
Yes.
going forward in the future, we're not sure. So,
Correct.
I think we just need to keep that in mind too. But I agree with Mitch, it could become quite a debate.
Okay,
One more point.
okay.
I'd like to change the word debate to dialogue.
Well, now,
Can it be a dialogue?
no,
It's not gonna be a dialogue?
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on forever and ever.
Yeah, it could go forever.
Well, I mean,
It's
you
the
can't-
it's the song that never ends.
I prefer not to be sitting in midnight meetings.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not
Okay,
saying
maybe.
everybody gets a turn.
Well,
It's not, it
let's
doesn't go on
try
and
this
on.
for now. This is,
Yeah.
this is a step forward. Let's just see how it goes, and for now, let's just move forward.
We need a second
That's
for the
okay.
motion.
Second. I was just waiting
What was the motion again, like?
The motion to adopt.
to adopt the agenda.
Okay, I thought we already.
We're still on that.
You made the motion. No, we never
Yeah,
got the
sorry.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, moving on to item number 2, announcements. Do we have any announcements tonight? Anyone?
Ooh, I have an announcement, all I have to do is find it. That's frightening.
Is it from NNE or DRC?
Yeah, it's for NNE, if you want, I can wait, it's just, so I wanted to make it very clear, because there was a question on board email today, that for this year, we have now 5 applications at the admin office, and that applications can be submitted by anyone who wants to run as a candidate for either the board, ACC, or NNE. And they need to be submitted to the admin office in a sealed envelope, attention the NNE chair. And this, you can do this until Tuesday, September 8th at 4:30 PM. We accept no email applications. And then that day, that same day, the NNE meeting will be held, I believe the time is 4:45 in the barn, to open the applications and do the drawing for the order on the ballot. So, if there's any question, there shouldn't be. I just wanted.
Thank you.
How many applications for ACC, do you know?
No, we don't open any of those envelopes.
Well, you said there were 5 for.
There are 5 applications sitting in the office, that's all I know.
What they're for, we don't know.
Before there were,
I see.
for a long time, there have only been 4, and I've always asked Joanne,
Oh,
and
I
I've always gotten the same, 4. Now I jumped to,
5.
but if there's 1 for ACC, or 2 for ACC, or 1 for NNE, whatever, that I don't know, and that we won't know that until they are opened after the close of the application period.
Which is,
September 8th.
September 8th at 4:30 PM.
all right, got that spelled out pretty good.
And then one more time.
I just wanted to make it perfectly clear. And the other thing that I'd like to bring up is that if you have your application in, know that there's a short turnaround time, but all candidates are asked to supply a photo and a 100-page bio.
100 words.
We're making it tough this year.
You can tell I've been
We
working
just
on the
lost
bylaws.
candidates.
100-word bio about yourself that goes in the booklet that goes out for voting. And then there's also for the board candidates, a 500-word vision statement for the valley. You can have less than that, but you're gonna be maxed out at 5. Those are due, there'll be a letter that goes out, and I'm waiting to get that from Rob because he's gonna be away and I'm gonna be doing it, where it'll explain the deadline, because those need to go into the views, because the October issue of the views is all about the candidates. A lot of it has to do with measures, that sort of thing. It's just, that's kind of the way it all falls together. So just if you have your application in already, please send your picture and your 100-word biography to the chair of NNE. Rob's still getting those. but we can't start putting anything together until we get it. If you don't put anything in, you will be a sad little figure, and something will say, no information submitted if you fail to meet the deadline. So if you've got it in already, send the stuff. If you're planning on applying, send your photo and your bio as soon as you can.
Any other announcements or questions?
Thank you.
Question, Mitch?
Well, we had.
Or announcement?
I think it's more of an announcement, but I'm gonna do abbreviated. There was an incident at the Marina Park, and I was hoping something would be said tonight. So I think the community needs to know, the board has worked on some contentious issues this year, and those contentious issues include a fence at the dog park, and trying to identify who is a member or not a member at our parks, and keeping dogs on leash. And I think an 8-year-old child was bitten. Whether a fence was installed or not would not have mattered. A child was bitten by a dog at the playground, the swings, required stitches. It was not a member who had the dog, and the dog was off leash. Now, there's a lot of, this is and that's. When is a factual story going to come out? And so we can tell the membership, this is what occurred.
In the views.
In the views? Excellent. All right, I think that it's important that the membership be told a factual telling of what occurred. Because
Security comments.
it touched many issues. It touched short-term rentals, members that are here, non-members here, dogs on leash, dog park, fence. It touched all of them. And a child was harmed, requiring medical help, stitches.
Who's writing the factual account?
Is writing that.
Who's writing the factual account that'll be in the reviews?
It'll be the,
John?
yeah. Any other questions or announcements?
I actually have one. I should have thought of this that I had. We are having another seniors tea, high tea, on Tuesday, September 22nd at 1:30 p.m. And we're calling all skilled bakers because this time we want to do a little twist. We want to have a baking competition.
Hallmark moment.
A Hallmark. So, yeah, I'm sure we have some really talented bakers in the community. It'd be really great to have them bring their creations, and they'll be judged. And I have right now I have more judges that have volunteered than I have bakers. But I'm hoping I'll get more bakers because I'm sure people can make some really delicious things. We will share them with the seniors that come to that event. And it's been really well received. The seniors have a great day when we do it. And we will get prizes for first, second, and third place bakers.
Wow, what was that, September what?
Tuesday, September 22nd.
That's a Tuesday?
Yes,
Correct.
at 1:30.
Any other announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to property owner comments. Do we have any property owner comments tonight?
1:30.
She's pretty new.
Okay, hearing none.
You knew better. James Pinkerton.
James.
51 North Point. So I wanted to start with, I have a message.
Right, someone?
It's, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a message from Sean Borch, that's the grandfather of the person that was bitten, and he's asking the board not to publish anything in Sudden Valley Views, not to put it on Facebook, not to put it on social media. His feeling is what he wants to do is he wants to tell the story, he wants to get the message straight. So he's asking this board tonight, he can't be with us, otherwise I wouldn't be here, but he's asking you guys not to pursue the story and let him tell the story. So Mitch has some of the facts correct. It did happen in the Marina Park. The person was bit. Security did come and tell the person to put their dog on a leash and they chose not to. It's an unfortunate accident. I think all of us can agree that a bite that happens, whether it's in a neighborhood, at the Marina Park, anywhere, is a bad thing. But at this point, Sean is asking the board not to pursue anything in Sudden Valley Views. Hopefully he'll be with us soon so he can talk with a lot more passion and knowledge than I have.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Hi, hello.
Hi, my name is Jane.
What is it?
Jane, I understand these are video recorded.
Your address.
Oh, could I provide that in writing so that it's not on the video for privacy, or do I have to say it just
Do you
because
have a
these?
driver's license? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Jane and Fritz is my partner and we're in Gate 13 owners, so I can give you my address if you like.
Yeah.
So we can go and meet.
You're a member and,
Yes, yes.
okay, and an
We're
owner.
an owner, yep, yep.
Just write it over here.
Someone
We can
go and
respect
meet.
your privacy.
And it's totally fine for record keeping, but I know that these are the videos are on the internet.
It is being recorded right now.
Yeah. This is the address. I'm happy to show the videos here. All right.
Thank you. Assistant Secretary, please.
So let's see. Note here, good evening. This is, I believe, the first time I've spoken at one of these meetings. Thank you for all the excellent work that you do, appreciate it so much. And the thing that I wanted to discuss was the bylaws amendments. There was a red line draft that was circulated that I had read this morning. So a little bit about myself. I'm a tech entrepreneur and currently I'm working in legal tech. And so some of the issues that come up with bylaws amendments and statutory changes are things that I have some interest in. So before these bylaws amendments came out, one of the, something that I had been thinking about contributing to the community for the past 6 months or so was helping organize my neighbors and some community efforts around proxy voting, because I have some experience with corporate governance and I had read and spoken with my neighbors and seen that people had, some people were hurting because they felt that their votes hadn't counted as much as they should have in the budget votes, and I felt that there were provisions in the statutes that were sort of a counter to that, proxy voting being one of them. And so I was somewhat surprised just in the last day or so that I found out that the bylaws included some provisions that would eliminate proxy voting in the community. And the reason that I was surprised about that was how this process of amending the bylaws has been noticed and announced with language like compliance with the statutes, words like must, things that must be changed. And I've done an item by item, sort of red line item by red line item analysis of the proposed changes in the bylaws in Measure 2 and in Measure 3. And a lot of those do faithfully track the statutory language very exactly, and my count was 28 items across Measure 2, 16 in Measure 2, and 12 in Measure 3, whereas there are a total of 21 changes, 8 in Measure 2 and 13 in Measure 3, that I would characterize as entirely optional, that don't track the statutory language. And the word compliance, I felt also, to me, that wasn't entirely accurate, because where there's a difference between the bylaws and the statute controls. And so it's not a matter of compliance, like we'll be penalized, we'll be fined, there will be some sort of problem for us. It's more like a matter of housekeeping. And so for somebody like me who cares about certain of these optional changes, like proxy voting, had I known that optional changes rather than strict compliance with the statutes was being proposed, it's the sort of thing where I would have wanted to organize with my neighbors, potentially exercise the full extent of my rights to get records, to propose an alternative amendment, and the manner in which these were noticed sort of prevented me from doing that. So what I wanted to say was I've read all of the relevant records, and this has been raised, as I can tell, at 3 meetings already, one in July and 2 in August, and yet the bylaws that came out this morning do still include those optional items. And so I felt that the most helpful thing to do.
That would be your 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. The most helpful thing to do would maybe be to send a written letter. So I wanted to basically give a heads up that I would do that and organize with anybody else, connect with anybody else who would like to join me on this effort offline. So maybe I'll post something on the webpage.
I'd like to point out Linda Bradley is the chair of the document review committee. And so if you send an email to Bradley at, is it?
BOD.
B.O.D. Bradley
B.O.D. Bradley.
of Sudden
It's
Valley.
online, if there are board
Yeah.
members, it's online, or document committee, it's online.
Okay, terrific. I will do that. I'll be in touch by email. I think that would be the most helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, he's running out of paper. Time, you gotta send him some paper back.
So I agree with the previous speaker that we should probably end the practice of saying our address on camera. We could have a sign-in sheet. If we had a sign-in sheet, that would suffice. My name is Brad Edwards. I'm an owner, member of Sudden Valley. My address is on that paper. And Ray, I appreciate your comments earlier. They were thoughtful, and I feel like if you're going to respond to people's comments, it should be in writing after the meeting, not after we make comments the next board round. So tonight I want to talk about something that the board says it values, transparency. I have a very specific example. On August 20th, I submitted my response to the Executive Committee Valley Views article to General Manager Joanne Jensen with Bill Helm at the Valley Tribune copy. Joanne responded in writing shortly thereafter, quote, "I will make sure it gets in." Today at 2:08, Bill Helm emailed me 2 weeks later. "Yes, Brad, it will be in the September views." Then approximately 10 minutes later at 2:22 p.m., Joanne emailed me saying that my response would no longer be published. So I have a very simple question. Who directed Joanne to pull my response? Was it the board, the executive committee, an individual board member sitting at one of these tables? Who made that decision and why? Because something clearly changed between 2:08 and 2:22 today. And I think the membership deserves to know who made that change. I've spoken with Bill Helm at the Valley Views about how decisions are made, and he made it clear that those decisions are made by Sudden Valley. Who at Sudden Valley has the authority to approve or reject material for the association-funded publication? And what policy governs that decision? This matters because the executive committee recently used the Valley Views to discourage members from voting for 5 announced candidates. At the time, 5 people had publicly announced they were running for the board. Now, when one of those 5 submits a response to that article, I'm first told it will be published, the editor confirmed it would be published, and then at the last minute, the decision is reversed. I'm not asking the board to agree with me. I'm not asking you to support my candidacy or the candidacy of others. I'm asking for the same thing I've always been asking a lot, transparency. There is another reason I think this conversation about transparency and accountability matters. A couple of weeks ago, after the last budget town hall meeting ended, the microphone recording the meeting was left open for several hours. In the YouTube video, board directors were heard making comments about Sudden Valley residents that were frankly unprofessional and inappropriate. So this isn't hearsay, members heard it. When you're serving in a leadership position, how you speak about members and how you represent them matters. This membership deserves professionalism, respect, and accountability from the people serving on this board. Someone in this room knows who authorized the original executive committee article. Someone in this room knows who directed Joanne to pull our response to the executive committee article. And I believe the membership deserves to know who's controlling what our members see in the Valley Views. So I'll ask one more time, who authorized the letter? Who directed Joanne to pull it? Because someone sitting here is likely pulling the strings. If the board says it values transparency, it should demonstrate it. And in 2 months, members will have a say in that.
Brad,
Thank you.
you'll get an answer.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
Barbara Michelson Harder, and 172 Polo Park Drive. I've said my address so many times it doesn't matter.
I know where you live.
Everybody knows where I live. And to, I guess to tag on what everybody's saying about transparency, my question is, thank you, all right, for putting in that you're gonna respond. And maybe it's a step in the right direction, I don't know. I would like to know where we can have a dialogue or a discussion with the board. There is no place. On your new Facebook page, you've cut off all responses. You cannot reply to anything you posted. Facebook is a place where people do dialogue, but apparently we can't dialogue with you there either. We're not gonna be able to dialogue with you in these meetings because it's not even, we had that discussion, now we're gonna answer, and now you can have a little bit more discussion. I don't think you should be afraid of a debate. There has to be time for dialogue between the community and the board, and as far as I can tell, there is no platform. And I also might want to comment on with the dog that you pulled, because you have an article on your Facebook page about the incident that happened at the park. And based on what this gentleman asked tonight, it needs to be pulled because it was biased. It was not based in fact. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Interesting. Any other, no, okay, no more comments. All right, moving on. Item number 3A is response to property owner comments. This is from last week, so this is something new we're trying, and maybe it's not well received, I don't know, but it's a beginning of trying to respond. We give some response, and town halls in particular is what you're referring to, I think is what we need maybe more of. One a quarter, one, I don't know how often, but that's where you would have dialogue back and forth. Typically at town halls, you get up, ask a question, you have a response. Last week we had a survey feedback question, and in particular from Mitch. In response to Mitch's comment at the last meeting, we would like to assign 2 directors to categorize the feedback received through the survey comments, prepare a report for the board identifying the top 3 to 5 issues. So that was one of the issues we had. We wanted to address the survey. We're grateful that so many people did respond to the survey. It's still not near what I always expecting, at least 50 to 75%. That's like a dream. 25% I guess is fantastic. And we had like 1,100.
We had 35%.
35%, so even better. I think it was 1,100 and something comments back in the survey, so that's fantastic. So since this was Mitch's great idea, we're having Mitch, and we'd like to have 2 directors volunteer for this task,
So I'll volunteer for it.
So-
Sean's not here. However, Sean and I did go back and forth a bit because we both read all those comments and we had a good discussion on it, and he quickly encapsulated what he thought were the issues, and we had a good conversation. I think we were into it. So, thank you, Sean. But I would like to volunteer, and if Sean has no objections, to work with him.
Sean? Hearing none?
So for now, we'll have Mitch and Sean. I do remember him saying he was interested in doing that. So if he has an issue, then we can reach out to the board and replace him.
I mean, we did,
He did say that.
we came up with a fast list saying these are important to the community.
All right.
You guys are already on it.
How long do you think,
You know,
couple of weeks or?
I think a couple weeks. It's not a big, it's a fast read. You know, it's 75 pages of comments, all right? But
But they're a lot of the same.
well, you have to
There's
categorize
themes.
them and
There's
then rank and
themes.
prioritize.
Yeah, there's themes, right?
Theme, okay.
So
But I think a couple weeks, yeah, I don't want to delay it. I think the community needs to get the feedback. This is what the community overall in the big picture said was important to them. And we should tell them. It's like, your issue may be down here and everyone else's kind of thought it was up here, or everyone agreed with you. It's a big issue. So, yeah, I think that the community deserves it, and there was a lot of effort by staff to get this thing done. We can't let it just gather dust on a shelf.
So these are the 75 handwritten others where they.
I think Joanne already
Yeah.
told everyone, here's the charts, here's how it looks. All right, now let's categorize the
Gotcha.
comments.
Perfect, and thank you and Sean for offering this one.
Do you think maybe the first meeting, we have a special meeting to adopt the budget, but then there's the first meeting that happens in September, or you think maybe the second meeting in September is better?
No later than the second meeting in September. I see no reason why we should take that long.
Okay,
Brad just kind of answered one of your email questions earlier, was, is it action gonna be taken? And apparently it is. But yeah, unexpected, but that's great, appreciate you stepping up
You
and
can't let it just sit.
doing it. All right, moving on, next we have Jane David's comments. David provided several helpful suggestions which were discussed and addressed by the DRC at the last meeting. You have comments on that?
We turned Jane's comments into the attorney. We had a time when people were allowed to submit comments. She and another lady had substantive and very detailed issues which you can look at. In fact, you can go to the website, you can see them. And we turned them into the attorney, and actually I would say that DRC looked at those. And I think part of what you're going to hear, at least I will speak to, when we get to talking about the measures on the ballot, that it's part of the reason why we're proposing to do what we're proposing to do with the measures that we'd like to put on the AGM ballot.
Linda, I sent her,
Mitch?
thank you. I actually sent, after the meeting, I sent her a message, I think at the end, saying, listen, you seem to have some knowledge on this, and your comments are really on target, but why wait to be a critic? Why not be a participant? You should join the DRC. Why wait until the back end to, why not the input on it? It's because we put hours into it. And, I mean, she has some comments in there.
Days more than hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never heard back from her, but, I think she should be solicited to join.
All right, very good. Thank you, guys. Next, we had Eric Fink's comments regarding trail access, and particularly by the marina opposite of Spinnaker Lane. It says, in response to Eric Fink's comments, access to the area has not been restricted. The trail remains open and accessible to all members. So that was just a statement, I guess, he made, that the trail is not open or accessible, and it is. Brad Edwards' comments regarding the views article. In response to Brad Edwards' comments, we are looking into, and you made that again tonight too, the best way to address his concerns regarding the article and the views. We have also reached out to Bill Helm at the views, who confirmed by email that neither the board nor the general manager sees member letters before a first draft is prepared. He also confirmed that when there are numerous letters, he determines which letters to be published based on factors such as whether they are time sensitive. So,
That doesn't answer much of it. It's who wrote the article, who makes the decisions once you get the draft, which letters stay in, who screens them for libel and defamation, and
gotcha.
oh, and the articles too. The article I just submitted that was pulled last minute by somebody sitting in this room. That I would appreciate next week or next board meeting. I'd love to hear.
Mitch will have that response for you.
I think you deserve an answer to that. I will give you the one on libel. I once wrote a letter.
Not right now, right?
But this is a fast one. I
Okay.
sent it in, and Bill Helm said, you want me to print it, I want insurance from you. He said, I feel it's libelous, and you'll have to insure it. And I said, I will not insure it. He said, I'm not gonna accept it.
Pull the article.
Well, that is no longer happening. He's in writing saying he does not do that now. So.
Okay, yeah, this is why we don't get, okay, moving on to Nadine's comment. I don't know who, just have Nadine here. Survey results. Nadine's comments have been addressed in previous responses with one clarification needed. The survey did not include a category asking members to rate their favorite amenity. Therefore, the claim that 1,400 respondents voted for a particular amenity could not be accurate, as that option was not included in the survey, and the total number of respondents was only approximately 1,100. So it just, and that was 5 we got to. I don't know if there were more, but
Those were the comments.
thank you very much. I appreciate you guys' time and effort in responding.
I really like this. I think this is cool.
The cookies or the responses? All right, thank you. All right, we got moving on to item number 4 is a consent agenda for the approval of the meeting minutes for August 13th, 2026.
I have an objection to one, a correction.
Okay.
A correction and objection.
Well, actually, you can look at it either way. We took a vote, and that vote is not documented in here.
Oh, on part 6?
That's right. It
Because-
says it was a discussion, but we actually took a vote.
I don't know, and I debated about putting that in, but because we'll be coming back, I can add that back in.
I could not vote for it the way it is because it was a vote.
Okay, I
The vote was
can,
called, hands were raised. I think it needs to be documented.
because it was just a discussion and it wasn't
Can
anything
you state
definitive
the
on the.
particular item number so we have it
Yes,
on
sir, I
record?
It wasn't a binding vote.
It wasn't really a binding vote, because once we get all the costs back on the barn, some of those things will change.
It wasn't a question of a binding vote, it was, do you want to put the,
I can add that in, that's not a problem.
Specificity as to what
So
was
say
going
it's
to go into barn
6C.
6.
that's
The
correct.
6C.
Yeah, say it.
Okay.
Okay, I will bring them back with that added in.
He wants Mitch to.
Okay,
Is that correct, Mitch? 6C?
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong document, I have too many documents here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it was on 6C, discussion, design details, proposed barn 6 sports pavilion. The discussion was specific to the board favoring, based on cost, the addition of a kitchen,
And there was-
and stub out for a generator.
and skylights, I'll add that in, I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that on
And
the
skylights.
Possible generator. Correct.
Generator.
Now I have something.
Thank you, Doctor.
I will bring them back
Okay.
next week with that, the next meeting with those added in.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, so with that correction, do we want to move forward with the motion to approve this? Or do we want to bring it
We'll
forward?
bring those minutes to be brought back next.
Yeah,
Okay,
next
got it.
time.
So the corrected meeting minutes will be brought back next time?
Yep.
So we did not have a motion?
No.
Motion to defer
Thank you.
till next meeting.
Thank you, Mitch.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it, no. All in favor to bring those meeting minutes back corrected? Unanimous, very good, thank you.
So,
Uh-oh,
can I clarify something?
you can clarify something, Joanne.
So, everyone keeps saying the next meeting.
Uh-oh, okay, good
Not the
point,
next meeting.
good
The next
point.
meeting is a special meeting on September the 3rd to adopt the 2027 budget.
I should say the next regular board meeting.
There you go. The next
Yes.
regular meeting is 9/10, the 10th of September.
Yes, the next regular board meeting. All in favor, again?
Aye.
Next regular board meeting.
Yeah, so we're doing out, the 3rd is the budget meeting.
Yep. Okay, continuing on, number 5, we have continuing business, which is committee business. Is there any committee business this evening?
No.
I don't think so. Daniel, nothing? Okay. All right, moving on, item number 6. We have new business request for approval for the AGM agenda. Joanne?
All right, so there's no memo, but Linda and I have updated the agenda for the 2026 annual general meeting. The only change from the form that was used last year is that we're no longer voting during the meeting to approve the minutes because the board did that last November. So that's taken care of, so we
I
don't
think
have-
there's something special, and Keith might remember, there's something that usually the parliamentarian states where he suggests that the minutes be, rather than approved by the membership at the meeting, that the board of directors do it, and then he'll say if there's any objections, and everybody just sits there, nobody says anything. So that's kind of how that's happening, I believe, is that statement's made. Am I
That
right,
is
Keith?
correct, that was
Okay.
added to the
You're
script starting in 2024 at the
Yep.
suggestion of our parliamentarian. So effectively, there is a vote of the membership to approve the minutes, but their vote was to defer or to assign that responsibility to the board of directors who followed that direction and
Yes.
did approve the minutes in November of last year. This agenda also states that there will be 3 measures presented on the ballot. Measure 1 is always the budget, so that's the same as in previous years. But we are proposing 2 additional measures on the bylaw amendments. And when we get to the discussion about the amendments, we can get get into it, that's really our next item. But we're currently saying, shall the bylaw revisions proposed to align with 2026 Washington State Kiowa statutes be approved or rejected? And then measure 3 is, shall the bylaw revisions proposed to align with Washington State statutes that become effective in 2028 be approved or rejected? So instead of having just one blanket, we separated the revisions into categories. Changes that were made in answer to changes in the statutes currently, or changes that were made in anticipation of changes that were coming up. So, if there are any questions, please.
Just for everybody, the only thing,
I had my hand up for.
nope,
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mitch?
I would not vote on this tonight, and I would actually ask to defer. I do not want to vote on something unless I can see it in my hand and read it. And, because it's a discussion point, but it's our agenda. So I've heard it, it seems right. Can you put this on the budgeted meeting on the 3rd, make it the first issue so we can agree on it? But I personally could not in good conscience say, sure, I'm going to vote on the AGM agenda. It was read to me.
It's in front of you.
What's that?
I
You said nothing in. I didn't hear you.
It's in
Where's the
front of you.
printout on it?
It was at.
it's in the extra, it's in our extra
Sitting in
document.
front of you.
I'm looking at it.
Are you just reading stuff? Hey Mitch, will you give me your car?
I did not.
Yes.
I still don't see it. This, annual, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mitch is reading over the agenda. There's an item on here that people need to be aware of.
Yeah.
That's number 8, it's the committee report. Normally, those are all submitted beforehand. They're a yearly report that we make, we turn in. They're stored on the AGM page there for everybody in the membership to read. So it's just, I don't know when the deadline needs to be for when you get them. Joanne might know better when she'd like to see those submitted.
The current bylaws indicate that they are due 30 days before the agenda, before the AGM is held.
So by hopefully October 1st,
October 7th would be.
October 7th, I mean.
From all committees.
Yep.
I have no objection to the agenda.
Alrighty.
You know, I went through my packet yesterday when I picked it up, so I got more paper today.
Okay, no worries. So you want to continue on, or do we have any other questions about the format? We're not actually just voting on the agenda.
Yeah,
Next will be coming up, we'll be looking at the ballot measures and explanations and so forth, and we have the final proposed revisions to the SVCA bylaws.
Right, so to Linda's point, in addition to this simple wording that's suggested in measures 2 and 3, there needs to be an explanation. It's required that we don't just say, do you want to do,
X or-
this X or Y, without saying, if you do X, this is what it means, if you do Y, that is what it means. And if you look at last year's ballot, you can see that there was an explanation for about measure 2, which was about the rentals, the change to the bylaws for the rentals and leasing. So that has to be written, but we can't write it until decisions are made about the final format of the bylaws or some final decision. So while our schedule called for us to bring the agenda for the AGM to the board today and to get input into the measures, I think having the discussion when we're actually looking at the proposed revisions to the bylaws would be more productive. So it's everything all at once, sorry. It's called pop culture reference there. Okay, so if it's okay, Keith, can I go on to the
Yeah, is there any more questions? Any from anyone? Not at this time?
All right, well, thank you for your patience, directors. Okay, So I'm gonna just read my introduction to the bylaws and then hopefully there can be a discussion on the points listed here.
Do we need to vote on this first though?
Well, I've asked if we could defer action on the, until we have the discussion about the bylaws themselves.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if okay.
Okay, so tonight we're here to request approval of the proposed revisions to SVCA bylaws, which were undertaken to align with current and anticipated Washington state statutes. The Washington Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act, or WCIOA, was adopted on July 1st in 2018 by Washington state. Sudden Valley was only required to comply with parts of this statute in 2018. Additional provisions of WCIOA became effective for Sudden Valley on January 1st of 2026, that's this year. The remainder of RCW 6490, which is that's the index number for the WCIOA legislation, will become effective for Sudden Valley on January 1st, 2028. Changes to bring Sudden Valley's bylaws into alignment with both the provisions that became effective in 2026 and the provisions that will come into effect in 2028 are included in the proposed revisions. So to diverge from my memo for just a moment, I think that the comments made by Jane were spot on. The deeper you get into looking at the bylaws and thinking about their relationship to the new statutes, you begin to realize that there are some things that are decisions made by Sudden Valley that are not directly addressed by the statutes, but they may be affected by the statutes. And I think that's an excellent qualification to make, and the word compliance is misleading. So I prefer this alignment word better, and some of the issues we've highlighted here, or I've highlighted here, I think will demonstrate this for everyone. Anyway, sorry, 2 ballot measures are being proposed. Measure 2 will be a vote to approve changes are required by current statutes, and Measure 3 would be a vote to approve the changes that align the bylaws with statutes that come into effect in 2028. So a little note about how we did this. After the board approved the preliminary bylaw revisions document on July 23rd, the document was posted on suddenvalley.com and member comments were solicited. 7 members posted comments. All of the comments were considered by the document review committee and changes were made to the proposed revision document. CSD Law, who is Sudden Valley's legal counsel, has reviewed all of the comments and participated in discussion of the remaining issues to be decided. At this time, the board is asked to make final determinations on the changes that should be included in the proposed revisions document that will be voted on by the membership in November. The remaining questions are highlighted below. Article 1, Section 2 was added to make it clear which Washington state statutes apply to SVCA. Some members of the community object to the inclusion of this section because it seems to imply that SVCA is opting in early to conform with the 2028 WCIOA statutes. It is not the intention of the association to opt in early to the full set of WCIOA statutes, and the inclusion of this section does not opt SVCA in. We were informed by our counsel that only adding it to the declarations would do that. And the bylaws are not the declarations, but even though it's a valid objection if people believe that that is true and that might cause them to vote against it, that would be a bad thing, and it's not required to put that in, it's just kind of a nice to have. That's the sense that I got from our lawyer. So the first question for the board is whether that section should be included or omitted. So that's the first one. Article 2, Section 7G says that Sudden Valley votes must be cast in the same proportions as the votes cast by owners.
I'm sorry, you didn't want to have discussion on each point, or wait until you've gone through the whole thing for discussion?
I was gonna go through the whole thing and then go to the page and ask people.
Thank you.
Okay. It has not been our practice to cast votes. In fact, the association was prohibited from casting votes for their own lots in the current, is prohibited in the current bylaws. But the 2028 Ukiah provision allows the association to do this. So I said, being a practical and not particularly diplomatic person, I said to the attorney, well, can't we just say we're not gonna do that anymore? And he said, no, he does not advise that Sun Valley continue to prohibit the casting of votes but it is not clear in the 2028 statutes whether SVCA must cast its votes. So that was a typical lawyerly answer, in my opinion. But it's up to, and he even said it's a business decision of the association whether that would be included. In fact, any of these provisions, he said the same thing. He's giving us advice. He doesn't want any of the responsibility of making the decision.
So there's no pre-existing laws.
So it's not clear to me that, and you know, we can dive into it more, but
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. So.
there are several lots, two to be precise, that the association currently owns, which are meant for resale. So those are non-trust properties, and they were acquired through foreclosures. It seems to me that those properties have votes, but we also own many lots that have been placed into green space as a result of density reduction, which occurred in our past history. And I don't believe that it's anybody's intention to vote those lots, but it's not clear because the statutes, there's no case law around it, and the statement in the statute is pretty vague. So I think it's personally safer just to say we're not gonna do it, right? And then if there is case law that forces the association to vote their own, the lots that they own, then we can address it later. Article 3, Section 3B states that proxies are not allowed. An owner questioned whether this is required by statutes or just a preference by Sun Valley. This is not straightforward. We were previously required to make proxies available, but the 2028 statutes say that it is optional for associations to vote proxies. So the question for the board is, should Sun Valley continue to allow that? And when we get to this discussion, there's additional information that we can share about how proxies have been used by the association. Article 3, Section 15 states, at each board meeting, the board will provide a reasonable opportunity of at least 15 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for owners to comment regarding matters affecting the Sun Valley community and the association. An owner commented that the statute in the law sets a 15-minute limit for comments on agenda items. So, if we allow owners to comment on non-agenda matters, as the current proposed text says, the 15 minutes may be used up before other owners who wanted to comment on agenda items can actually make it to the podium, right? So, in our discussion, we came up with a solution, and it's sort of implied in this statement. Does the board support solving this issue by instituting a practice to first ask owners who have a comment on an agenda item to come to the podium, and then, if time allows, ask owners with comments on other topics to speak? Article 4, Section 12. The community has made objections to the concept of an executive work group. The sentiment is that this change is being made to allow the officers to meet privately. Since there is no prohibition against 4 members of the board meeting privately to discuss things, it is not necessary to formally define an executive work group in the bylaws. Does the board wish to include or exclude the executive work group from the revised bylaws? So other issues were addressed. Members questioned whether Article 1, Section 4.1 states that an event or condition that threatens the health, safety, etc. of SVCA is grounds for taking emergency action, even if a state of emergency is not declared by government. Legal counsel confirmed that a government-declared emergency is not required to take action under the provision. So that's good, because it allows us to take action for events that only affect us here, which is what we experienced in November of 2024, but it also may open up the question of when an emergency is declared and how is it substantiated. So that issue is still an issue. Can't be resolved by the bylaws. It can only be resolved, I believe, through case law. Members objected to Article 3, Section 3C, which previously defined a one-day time limit for an appeal if a candidate was found to be not in good standing. Because it has been SVCA's practice to end the candidate application period on the Tuesday after Labor Day, this timing allows very little time to prepare materials for the voting packet. To address this, the end of the candidate application period was changed to 1 week before Labor Day, allowing for a 5 business day appeal period. But someone else commented, I saw today, that we didn't catch all of the changes for the Labor Day date, so I'll need to go through it one more time. Article 3, Section 5 states, following an affirmative vote to remove, a vote may be held to elect a successor to complete the term of office of the removed directors. Members questioned how that would work. And it's a good question. To address this, we simply deleted that reference. It remains possible under current law to hold an immediate election of replacements for the member or members being removed, but this would only be needed in extraordinary circumstances. For example, if the entire board was being recalled. And if that were to happen, we could address it because it's allowed under the law. We don't have to provide for it in bylaws. So that was kind of the cowardly way out of that one. Members objected to the inclusion of a reference to a fee for transferring title to units in Article 3, Section 21, because it seemed to imply that the association wanted to reinstitute the transfer fee program that charged a percentage of the selling price. This reference was removed. So I'll go ahead and say the motion, or say my request. I request that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the proposed bylaw revisions document to be voted on in 2 separate measures by the members at the 2026 AGM.
Second.
She's asked for a request, I'll give her a motion.
I'm sorry. I did.
Boy, you're a little off tonight. All right, so the
That's what
motion,
I'm sitting next to.
all right, it's a chair change, that's what did it. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the proposed bylaw revisions document to be voted on in 2 separate measures by the members at the 2026 AGM.
Second.
Thank you, Tommy. Okay, questions, comments? And I know we got a few, right? Who wants to go first?
Should we take them in order? Or-
Yeah.
Are there questions or comments from directors that weren't listed in the open issues section? I think that's the first thing we should ask.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you mean something other than what you just read?
Correct. I know that some
Oh, you mean to go
people
back?
found typos or had questions of their own about things. And I thought maybe we could just procedurally do that before
Through
we
the whole
got.
bylaws?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, so what we're gonna do then is go through the proposed the bylaw changes.
Okay, so looking at page 1 of the proposed bylaw revisions. The page before, it explains the format.
It's gotta be over here.
Anyway,
It's over here.
okay, there you go, okay. So, an introduction to the format. Deletions are identified by a strike through and are further highlighted in yellow, okay? Text that was added is shown in red. So that's, if their text is either gonna be taken out or added in, that's it. However, there's 2 other things being indicated. Any change, so any strike through or any red text that you see inside of a box, the color of the box indicates whether legal counsel suggested that change when considering the current statutes, green box, current. If it's surrounded by blue, the legal counsel identified that as a consideration, a change made in consideration of the upcoming 2028
Yeah.
legal changes, okay, so.
So green, it's already happened actually, January 1st, 2026. is
Right.
Taking place.
Correct, and then blue,
Is proposed.
right, now, to make it a little easier, not have 5,000 different little boxes, some sections that contain multiple changes are boxed. It doesn't mean that whole section is necessarily in reference, but the changes within that section were being proposed because of current statutes if it's green, future statutes if it's blue. And if anyone thinks this is complicated, I heartily agree with them.
I needed the key next to me to go through it all. I was like, can't remember.
Okay,
All right,
so,
go ahead, you wanna run it, go ahead.
well, now are there typos or word changes or questions that are not part of the 6 issues I identified?
So I only had the one typo I told you about,
Okay.
page 11. Page 11, 10. And then B, where it says by 2/3 of the coats cast. Votes, yeah.
What page are we talking about?
Page 11, section 5, subsection 1, A, a majority of votes in the association, or B, by 2/3 of the votes. It's just a typo, so I fixed that.
Oh,
Yeah, we're just doing typos right now?
Sure, or questions. You had identified a deletion.
Well, if we have a question already, since we're on page 11, let me go to my next question. So, the question I had is removal by board, so if you guys look at that, so before you had absences, 3 consecutive absences or 4 total, that's been removed. Violating restricted covenants, bylaws, or rules and regulations, that's all been removed. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of
But
that.
that was removed because of statute.
Right.
yep,
Yes.
absolutely, word for word. Wakiowa only allows a board member to be removed for
For what? Nothing.
not
Not paying dues.
Not paying
Yeah, not paying
dues.
dues.
not
It's like
paying
every-
dues and not able or refusing to
Correct.
correct or pay up the dues within, once he's notified, hey, you're delinquent. And
Yeah, I just
then,
thought it was bizarre, but that they removed every reason.
I think so
To
too,
keep people in order.
went and looked, but
So they can, as long as they're good with their dues,
Yeah.
they can attend meetings from jail.
yes, they
Via
could.
Zoom, yeah.
Zoom,
absolutely.
via Zoom.
It's kind of bizarre. Anyways, I didn't mean to dwell on that, it just struck me.
No,
as
it's
odd.
just, it's unrealistic, but
Okay, anybody else have any questions on any of the pages so far?
I have one that I would like to speak to, because I've been speaking to it for forever, and it's the section 2, the laws and authorities.
What page is that?
It's on page, it's what we call page 2, it's really page 1. I'm concerned that we agree to be governed by this Wakiowa in full until we know that we have approved all of these changes. If we haven't, then either this needs to have an additional acknowledgement that this will happen in 2028, or it shouldn't be in there. Because basically you're saying, hey, this, you'll have all the powers and duties provided in the governing law. And right now, we are a combination of our legacy laws and of Wakiowa. And I think until that happens, we either take that out of there. There's nowhere, it wasn't in there before. There's nothing in our restrictive covenants that even has basically a reference to any of that, because it was before even the 6438s were done. So I just, to me, my vote is, I don't like it in here.
Are you talking about laws and authority, the
Yes.
ran there?
Yep.
Just look,
The red one, yeah.
make sure we got hands up, but we'll go with Joanne with the response on
Sorry.
that, and then if anyone else has questions.
Okay, so, that's why it's boxed in blue. So if the association, the members, don't vote to adopt the 2028 changes, then that section would not be put into the bylaws. Right, and so your objection kind of falls, gets addressed in that way. I asked Richard twice in 2 different mediums to make sure the answer was the same both times, because I thought this was pretty important. And it came back the same both times, and actually the second time I was really annoyed, but he said unless it goes into the declarations, you're not opting in early. It's actually hard to opt in early.
Okay.
So it feels uncomfortable, but he said it did not do that, so. Okay,
not be opting in until 2028. Because
Yeah.
a lot of this is burdensome to the admin and everything else, so we do not want to opt in early.
I thought there were some benefits to
Daniel?
opting in early. Is that not the case? I think they were encouraging people to opt in early. What is that about?
great question.
Good question, right.
CSD law did originally tell us, as the association, to consider whether opting in early was a good idea because they believed that we would have to amend our restrictive covenants. And the benefit to opting in early is that if your restrictive covenant said changes to the bylaws had to be passed by a 2/3 majority or by a 2/3 vote, that if you opted in early, they would say you could do it by just a simple majority, right? So that was a perceived advantage. But in the case of Sudden Valley, our restrictive covenants are small and our bylaws are long. And that is the reverse of many or most other associations, so I'm told. I do not have personal knowledge of that, but that's what Richard Davis has told us. So he does not see an advantage any longer and does not recommend that Sudden Valley Community Association opt in early from a legal perspective. From an operational perspective, there are substantive requirements that will be imposed on the association in 2028 that will cost us as an association a significant amount of money. One substantive requirement was imposed on us this year, and that is the only recognized method, legal method of notice is a mailed letter, right? So we're very lucky because the Sudden Valley Views, for all of our disputes about how it's managed, is mailed to everyone. And its primary function for the association is to provide a regular legal method of notice. If we didn't have that, and most associations do not have something like our views, it's unusual. But because we have that, we have not incurred an additional expense. We've been bearing that expense all along, and it's tens of thousands of dollars. I think it's quite significant, the charge. So that's one good example, so.
Yeah, we were ahead of the game, I think, in a lot of areas.
That is, yes, that is certainly true.
Yeah.
So anyway, Linda brought up the section 2, which was one of the 5 issues in the memo. So we could stop and talk about that since she's made her thoughts clear, and it's the first one, Article 1, Section 2. And to be clear, Richard Davis said that we didn't need to have it, but it made sense to him to direct people to those particular statutes.
It's true, but the whole thing about doing our restrictive covenants, as you pointed out, we have very little in our restrictive covenants that says how we do business. It's all in the bylaws. And that's why this statement, until we get everything included, and it's in blue, that's why it is. I wouldn't put it in there because you are basically saying that the association will act according to this, even if they don't have, there's stuff, and having read Mikhaila, I don't wanna go into a long diatribe, there's stuff coming down the pipe that isn't in any of this for 2028, that's gonna be changes, folks.
Yeah, they tend to be operational changes.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be addressed in the bylaws anyway, but we will have to start next year looking at policies and procedures of the association. So, that's certainly true. All right, Keith, would you like to go on to the next issue?
Yeah, is there any more, I can go on to the next one for me. Until someone else steps up. So the question I had was regarding Ohio or the rule for the 7%, and this is just my bad.
Page.
Oh, excuse me, page 16 on 20.6, limitations on assessments.
And I realized afterwards it's not in red, so this is our existing, rule now that we voted on, was to no more of an increase than 7%. Now, that's not a state law, that's our own rule, and state law would supersede that, but it is currently what we go by. And then, so that was already explained, self-explained, I guess. And then the next question I had was on page 26, was regarding section 3 in the bottom green box, where it says adhere to the requirements of RCW, the committee shall be bound by the following, and then it just died off. So my question was, what happened there?
And that was a deletion that was missed. So, we're proposing to delete the committee shall be bound by the following. It simply ends, the section should end with the committee shall adhere to the requirements of RCW 6490.445 subsection 2. Okay. Next.
That is all I have in there.
Okay.
So anybody else have any questions regarding this?
Wait a minute, I've got something, all I have to do is find the page again. There's something you all should know that, oh, no, I'm not gonna be able to find it. I had it and then I looked where you were. There's a part in here where referring to non-voting directors be changed to they are liaisons.
Liaisons, yes.
And there's a description in there, I don't know why we're all changing it. I know I made a suggestion, originally it said that they wouldn't be able to make motions or anything else, but I asked that they retain their definition that basically is found in Robert's rules. And it's a change everybody should know, because it's like it's a brand new word that none of us know, that none of us have used, but it's in there, and I think that,
We
you
put
know.
the explanation of what that meant.
Yes, we find, I'm saying it's in there, but also the explanation is in there. I had thought that it would appear in the definitions, but it appears in that portion, I can't find it to save my
Looking
soul.
for it too, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was at the advice of Richard Davis. So he thought it made more sense there.
To leave it as a director?
No, he's saying, he's recommending that we should not call them non-voting directors, that would actually raise some legal questions. But it was at his direction to not put it in the definitions, but to define liaisons just in the section where we were adding that. I think it's section 3, which talks about the board.
I might have to look in.
Nominations and elections.
I'm getting a headache again.
Page 9,
Yeah.
page 9.
I knew it was.
Middle of the page, it's in blue and it starts with 2.2.
Yeah, 2.2, yeah.
Yeah, liaison should be subject to the following.
Rules regarding liaisons.
Yeah, and we need that new section 2.2 because of the change made in section 2 regular, where it says, it used to say the board shall be composed of, members. That's great.
9 voting members and
You
2
shall be-
non-voting members.
Yeah, yeah,
And and serve as non-voting liaisons to the board.
right.
Yeah.
And then it identifies the two, which are the chairperson of the ACC and the chairperson of nominations and elections. But by calling them liaisons, we avoid some other confusion with the law, is what Richard was saying. And then the liaisons are defined so that they're subject to the bylaws to the same extent as a director, except as otherwise provided in this section. The same eligibility requirements for service, the same way to remove them, Liaisons are subject to the same standards of care and to the extent permitted by the law, the same immunities of a director.
Same standard of care, we can berate them.
Liaisons may not hold an officer position, and liaisons may attend all board meetings and participate in the discussion on each agenda item to the same extent as a director, including participation in executive session, the right to make a motion or to second a motion, but not to vote. So they are the same as directors except for that one thing, which is the same way they've been treated.
That it's always been, and
Same as
that's
the-
what I asked, because when we first saw this, when we first saw the word, I'm like, well, wait a minute,
Yeah,
it's nowhere, anywhere, so I asked that somewhere a definition would be put in and an explanation. Because I didn't want any of, there's only you here, because Rob's not here, I didn't want any of the current privileges taken away. And originally it was like, no, you don't get to make motions, you don't get to do it, you just get.
We went to legal 3 years ago because one of the officers challenged Rob saying you're not a director.
Yeah.
And that was quite a kerfuffle. We spent money on it, and the answer is, he is a director, he's allowed to participate. So I think the definition clears it up, and now it's just a name change.
Yeah,
right,
it's-
and this is another way in which I appreciate comments that were made earlier. It's not required by the statute that we create this crazy new thing called liaison, right? It simply isn't. But because of a change in the statute, where now our legal counsel says you shouldn't call them non-voting directors. You have to call them something different. So it's an accommodation to the change in the statute, so.
So it aligns with it.
Yeah, it aligns with it, anyway. Okay,
So, well, what is this solving?
the fact that directors means something in the law that he didn't want the non-voting members to, like that, it could be challenged by the members because it seems to contradict another requirement in the law.
The say directors get to vote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, so if you
It
say they're
creates a
directors, yeah, so he thought that it was better to be clear.
Yeah.
In that way.
Roberts actually explains and calls them ex officio officers, which means you are, your position, you're a chair of an, elected by a different committee, not the board, by ACC. Same thing with N&E, but that you still can participate at the board
It's a better
level.
description.
Yeah,
So anyway, that's the.
anyway, just,
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to see, because that's a big change. Everybody should be aware of it.
The term is the
Yes, the
change,
term,
but we
yeah,
made every effort to keep
absolutely,
everything else
absolutely.
exactly the same. Anyway, the next issue that I identified is on page 8 in section G, towards the bottom of the page. In any vote of the owners, votes allocated to a unit owned by the association must be cast in the same proportion as the votes cast on the matter by owners other than the association. So the legislative intent of that statement is to say that the association can't decide a contest, they have to follow the direction of the members. But you could also interpret it, they must be cast.
Yeah.
So I don't think they mean it that way, Richard doesn't think they mean it that way, but you could interpret it that way. So I'm asking the board to discuss that and determine whether we want to take that out and reinstate our previous provision which said the association shall not be allowed to cast votes for lots owned by it.
Covers this in the other areas.
But you can't do that because the law says the opposite in writing.
Oh,
It's got
yeah, you got it.
I'm trying to comply.
I know, I'm being bad.
We would be creating the opportunity for dictatorship if the association was to allow to vote its trust and common properties, right? It would be a nightmare. So if the law says we have to say it, then I think we can simply say, but under no circumstances will trust or common properties be voted. Because then it only leaves the board maybe 2 or 3 properties that they could vote. That's one comment. And the second comment is, well, if we were to vote this, we don't know what the vote's gonna be until after the vote is announced, and so therefore, it's a moot point. If the vote was 60-40, then the association says, okay, I vote 60%, I vote 40%. It's moot. It doesn't change the vote outcome. It changes the vote tally, not the vote outcome. That's how I'm hearing it.
That's the intention, but mathematically, it could change it by, many of our elections are decided by a handful of votes. 3 to 5, 7 votes, and I look back at the historical reports to verify that. And percentages, when you're looking at large numbers, make a big difference. For example, at one point in here, Richard Davis had suggested that instead of 2/3, we say 67%. Because that's the accepted rounding of 66.6666666. Except, if you do the math and you use 66.666 times 3,118, you get a different number than if you use 67%.
Just makes it a higher bar, but not much.
But it is, since we have history to show that our elections can be as close as a handful of votes, it pays us to say 2/3, because that's a different number than 67%. And the same thing is true in this, because of the large numbers. So I don't think it's the intent of the legislation to allow an association to, as you put it, be a dictatorship, but it could have an influence.
It seems to me this was written in response to small 20, 30 unit properties where the board, they haven't built out everything, they haven't sold everything. And so they're giving the board the opportunity to govern an emerging HOA.
Yeah, I agree.
But not in something our size.
Exactly.
And if we have the opportunity to not vote, it is a dictatorship in the making if we gave the board the opportunity to vote.
Well, who would make the decision, right?
That's what I was gonna ask.
That was my
The
question.
people in authority at that time.
Well, no, it says it would be mechanistic, it would be, we do the math, we figure out the proportion, and we'd allot the votes. But how do you allot 1.7 votes? Right? Like, it's just a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
So my suggestion, and Richard said he couldn't advise this because he's a lawyer and he can't advise us to go against the law.
Yeah,
I said, just leave it the way it was and wait for somebody to sue us.
and I don't think
And then
anyone
we go
will.
by case law, if there's something else.
Right.
Right.
I mean, the worst thing that can happen is we leave it the way it is, and then if some board decides, no, they want to vote for our trust and condo property, and they want to do it in a disproportionate manner, well, yeah, that would be a lawsuit. But take the risk, they're not going to sue on it.
I think the thing that becomes interesting with this, I don't agree that we weight the proportion. I think what it is, and I'll look into it more, because it takes a little bit of thinking, is we have said that our proportion of votes per unit is 1 vote for each unit. If you own 2 units, you get 2 votes, 3, but 1 vote, 1 unit. If the association has to vote by that same proportion, that means that 1,523 properties are owned by Sudden Valley. When you mail out ballots, you would have to send a ballot to to the association for every single one of those lots. Then you'd have to have somebody, almost an independent person, deal and accept all of those votes, not put just in a box like we do now. It would have to go beyond that, but eventually, we don't have to do it now, but that's what it says. Is it crazy? Absolutely. But I wonder if that's the proportion. I know sometimes in condos, and I'll look it up, if you own, depending upon the size of your unit, it depends upon your vote or how your vote is weighted when you vote. And I want to look into this a little more, because I think that may be what it deals with. And is it completely unrealistic? It would make some things impossible to pass.
So the the idea would be to keep it as is.
Keep it as is.
You keep it as is, but unfortunately, sooner or later, this exact language is what is written in Wakiowa. That's what we all need to make a point to understand. Is it unreasonable? Is it unfair? You bet. It's gonna be, Mitch, it's a watershed moment. We can't even agree now.
If we left it, if we put it in, we can modify it by saying, but under no circumstances may you vote trust properties or common properties. All right, so you can put it in, but you don't get those 1,190.
And and that's the whole thing. It's gonna depend upon how the membership votes. Do they vote to accept all of these 2028s? Or just the 2026s? And in many ways,
Well, I would say.
2026 looks better all the time.
Boards to cast ballots on, or votes on the properties.
How many properties we own right now?
What you just said.
No, that's total common and trust. But how many non-trust properties do we currently have? 2? That's the risk. If we put in, you may not vote your common or trust properties, then if the board's max they can do proportionally is 2 votes.
Yeah.
Well, so my interpretation
Yeah.
of the statute is that, as we see during federal elections, in some states where the electoral votes are allocated based on the proportions of the voting citizens, does everyone know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I know what you're talking, the.
Right, so then the head of the speaker for the electoral college for that
Yeah.
state stands up and says, the great state of whatever casts 6 votes for, guy A and 18 votes for guy B.
Well, thank God we don't vote by divisions, because that's what would it be.
Yeah.
Exactly, right, so what I'm saying is, we wouldn't have to do the vote thing, like we wouldn't have to furiously fill out 1,000 ballots.
I wanna see it.
We would simply say, the association has blah, blah, blah votes, and they are allocated based on the results of the election, changing the totals to whatever. But I am fully aware of the potential for disaster in that approach, and I would suggest that the association decide that the must in that statement applies to casting the votes in a particular proportion, and not that the votes have to be cast. So we are in fact electing not to cast our votes by retaining our original statute or our original provision G. The association shall not be allowed to cast votes for the lots owned by.
If we can do that, it avoids a disaster.
I would leave it the way it is.
Okay, so can you call a vote on that?
No,
You know, he's like,
you got it, nobody got it?
I can do it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we're gonna go through one.
You're gonna have to go for a section here.
Okay, are we doing this one first?
Yeah, we're gonna do that for one.
Okay, I move that the board vote to retain section G as, section.
Article 2, Section 7G.
Article 2, Section 7G, the association should not be allowed to cast votes for lots owned by it as is, and take out the changes that were proposed.
Do you agree with that? Is that what you were proposing?
Second.
Okay, so Keith, second.
All in favor of the proposed changes?
Unanimous.
Who did the second?
Keith.
I did, what page is that?
8. Okay. All right, Article 3, Section 3B is about proxy. And you can find that section on page 10.
No.
No.
I don't see it on page 10.
Let's go Article 2, sorry.
What page?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
May I make a general comment comments about
Two to
proxies?
six,
Sure.
six, but.
So, I belong to an HOA in Maui. And they have proxy voting. So people who do not know who they want to vote for sign off on their proxy. It's a non-directed proxy, and they send it, and the board decides who they're gonna vote for. All right? So, or they can sign a directed proxy and say, this is what I want, I can't attend, therefore here's my vote. Now, here in Sudden Valley, if a person, a neighbor, can't go, they can sign a proxy form and hand it off to their next door neighbor and say, when you go to the meeting today, would you submit my vote? That way their vote counts, if they didn't get a chance to mail it in. Right? Or go online, but we have the online option. So the worst thing that can happen is a person can't go on, doesn't go online, it's the day of the election and they can't go, they wanna vote, and so they fill out a proxy form and they give it to someone. That's, I mean, because we have online voting, that's the worst thing that can happen. All right, but I'm against non-directed proxies, always against them. So you go out and collect 20 votes, you'll fill them out the way you see fit, deliver them.
Ballot harvesting.
Ballot harvesting, right? Good old Chicago politics.
That's
Go ahead,
already,
Joanne.
that's happened in the past, folks. You may think that that's real funny.
It's not.
When I first moved here, that's how we voted.
Yeah, our current proxy process requires it to be notarized, it's quite
Yep.
burdensome. And I don't think anyone has ever used it. I know during.
One person tested it
One
after
person
we had to put
requested
it
a
in.
proxy and was mailed a proxy, but never filled it out or actualized it. They just were testing, which was
Yep.
sensible, I thought. But the ability to vote by proxy, originally the association voted by proxy. Then it went to no proxies for a long time. But then in 2022, right, you added it?
I thought everything was just fine, and I got a letter, an email from the board president, per our attorney, that we had to add back in proxies. So here, at the last minute, develop a process and a policy for it, develop the forms for it, the directed and not directed, and then put the rules down and make the forms and the whole, lots of fun, so it's there. It's only a policy, and it's something that easily could be brought before the board and could be rescinded at any time if we choose to do that. It's interesting that the one young lady believes in proxies a lot. It's a scary thing, but at least there's a level of that. Sorry, at least there's a level of security there where they have to be submitted beforehand, they have to be able to be notarized, we can't do it through our third-party vendor because they just don't handle that kind of voting at all.
Again, the only thing that can happen is the person didn't go online and vote.
Yeah.
They didn't mail it in, it's the day of the election, and they can't mail it in, so they have to go through an entire process very quickly to hand a proxy vote to someone to say, go vote for me.
Yeah, and they can't just do that, they can't just do that.
It can't be done.
Yeah, it can't be done. It can't be done, that isn't the way the whole current policy is performed. It has to be turned in ahead of time, has to be verified. Is this a member? Is the person you're having vote for you? There's a lot of rules around it. Do I know what they all are sitting here anymore? I've looked at too many rules. But it's like, it's something that can really be scary. I will tell a story about long ago. We used to get different sheets of paper that were our proxies in our envelopes. And somebody copied because it was just writing on paper and a little half sheet of paper, and basically forged a bunch of proxies to be able to vote them.
That must have been a South Side Chicago person.
It could have been, but I'm telling you, it's happened here.
Well,
And it's,
the question before the board is whether or not to include the statement that proxies are not allowed. Currently, proxies are a part of our election process, and whether or not they are an appropriate methodology Linda's correct in that it's available, but it's not cited or described in the bylaws. Okay, the process is described in the nominations and elections manual,
Yep.
which is approved by the board, not the membership, so that could be changed by the board at any time. But our attorney has advised that we say we're not doing proxies, so we get out of the requirement to have to handle these complicated proxies.
And then you just simply rescind the policy.
I don't see the point.
Well, if it goes to the
Proxies.
bylaw, yeah.
Yeah, see,
With
we're
online
making a
voting.
problem for ourselves if we add this.
Yes.
May I make a motion?
You may.
Are we done?
Well,
Go ahead.
I can make a motion anytime,
Yeah.
but I make a motion that we eliminate proxies in our voting.
Second. Okay, Tom.
Who seconded it? Tom?
Tom did.
Now, as just
Comments?
point of order, we have a member who's very interested in this kind of thing here. And maybe we give her about 2 minutes to give us her professional point of view on proxies.
Give me a minute and a half. No, come on up, please. Come on.
First of all, I don't know that I could do it in a minute or 2 minutes.
Right.
I'd be happy to do it in writing. I think that proxy voting is used in every publicly traded corporation in the United States. One of its main purposes is for oversight and governance of a board. And so this is an area where there can be an inherent conflict of interest between the member's interests and a board's interests. And so what occurs to me is that in these discussions about proxy voting, and I've read every part of the deliberations, every one of the records, there's no discussion of the good parts of proxies. All I've heard is it takes more paperwork. I've heard sort of in a conclusory manner they're scary. I think that they have a lot of benefits, and some of the main benefits are to give a greater voice to corporate governance, that is governance of the membership of the people sitting here. And I'm not sure I've seen a single item of deliberation of that. And so that's the kind of information that I think should be before the board, before the people, when they vote on this kind of thing. Now, proxies can be directed, they can be undirected. They're not just for voting. If you look at how proxy associations operate across the United States, they have an informational purpose. Sometimes they provide information people associate together to ensure that all of the people in a particular association have information about a vote that's directed to their interests. I could have an association of mountain bikers, or people with children, or people who like to use, recreation, water recreation, and it extends often the time to vote. It has an information purpose. So I think that in general it is enfranchising rather than disenfranchising. There are a lot of pro-member characteristics or benefits to proxy voting, and I just haven't heard those addressed. Now, I would like to probably do this in writing because it's a little hard to do on the spot, but those are some of what I would bring up. And then process-wise, as I said before, this entire process was not framed as a way for optional items, sort of like discretionary items to be presented at the meeting. And so just having the discretionary items and the, I'll say, alignment items or coherence items in the same measure is, to me, quite problematic for reasons that have to do with notice and non-interference in the sort of organization provisions that are provided to members in the bylaws. Things like, I have a certain amount of time to get records, I have a certain amount of time to get votes, I can introduce alternative ballot measures. All of these have timelines. They have to go at a certain time before the board meeting, so the notice of what's actually being contemplated and considered here matters a lot. So that's another issue with including any of these provisions, proxy or not, that are strictly optional alongside mandatory provisions. That's all. There you go.
For the purposes of our conversation tonight, the only purpose for a proxy here would be for an AGM vote, period. We don't have proxy voting for anything else. We don't have any other voting. So, yeah, it's only for the AGM.
Right, in the statute, it applies to, there's a list of things that can be voted by proxy, and there's a certain number of them. I think it includes budgets, director related.
But they're not.
Wouldn't apply.
By eliminating them, we would eliminate them from all of the provisions of the statute, as I understand it.
I appreciate your comments, I really do. I think with Sudden Valley having electronic voting and the ease at which you can get online, I did it the other day, and it was like, if it took a minute and a half, I was stretching it to register.
So, happy, I think it probably makes a lot of sense to address it in writing, because electronic voting was another one of the issues that had come up. There are conditions on it, it's revocable, I think that there's a chance that people would feel the way I do, and it would be great if the really necessary, conformance of the bylaws or the statutes measures get passed for sure, and not be held up by optional stuff that people feel differently about. So just, I can address it in writing, but I want to put that out there.
Okay.
Thanks, I look forward to seeing something.
All right, so the proxies are not allowed statement is on page 7, and it's in the section called Section 7 Voting. And it's in the blue box, so it would be part of the 2028, getting ready to be in alignment with 2028. And as Linda has noted, we did not discuss proxies in our bylaws before. And so it's, like, if you guys say take it out, we haven't removed the possibility of eliminating it, but we give ourselves the possibility to do it if the membership brings it forward again to talk about it, or there are benefits identified for doing it. So that's the vote. So I think the motion was to retain the statement, thereby eliminating the ability to vote by proxy, right? That's what you said?
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, so that was the motion.
It was seconded by Tom.
Yes.
All right, so call the question.
All in favor?
Okay, so that means the statement stays in, eliminating proxy voting. Okay, the next thing is Article 3, Section 15. Does the board support solving the issue of member comments about other items using up the time and preventing someone who has a comment on an agenda item from speaking? Can we just solve that with a procedure?
Yes, you should say where you're at, so everyone can follow you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
That was,
Article 3.
People wanting to talk about things that are on the agenda first.
order comments, page 14.
14?
Right, so we're following and this is a green box, so it's the current statute. We are required to offer an owner comment period. But we don't limit people just to commenting on agenda items.
No,
We allow them to talk about anything. And the member who brought this up said, since we place a limit of 15 minutes on the overall comment period, that might keep people who have a comment on the agenda from making it. So we can fix that though without changing any words in here by just adopting the practice of first saying, does anyone have a comment on an agenda item? And then, are there any other comments?
So what it says is, does the board support solving this issue by instituting a practice to first ask owners who have a comment on an agenda item to come to the podium, and then, if time allows, ask additional owners with comments on other topics to speak? Jean?
So sometimes we will have an agenda item and we'll have a room full of people and everybody's talking on the same item and it's repetitive. And that's my only concern, is that if we have the same sort of thing that comes up for the 15 minutes of talking, and it allows people with other items not to be able to talk. So that's the only thing that I think in general it sounds good, but we've had people fill the room and basically see the same thing.
I did read somewhere where it said if you had like 10 members or something like that, was that somewhere in there, you could limit their time to 90 seconds or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the law, that's Iowa.
That's actually the law.
So you shorten it so that
So everybody gets a chance.
so everybody has a chance. So you have to figure out how many people want to speak.
Right, and that's why I think the county council meetings, for example, have a sign-in sheet.
Yep.
Because then you don't have to require people to state their address, which is good, I guess. And then you can say, oh, look, we have 15 people, if they each get 3 minutes, that's 45 minutes, so suddenly they only get a minute or whatever. But I think the limit, you can keep them to 9, the least you can give somebody is 90 seconds in the statute.
I like the idea that a lot of people have made that, is if you intend to speak, you sign in,
I like to sign in.
you know?
Sign-in sheet's much better.
What are we gonna do about Zoom folks, though?
We're going down the line. They're not here? No.
I guess we could ask at the beginning of the meeting, if anyone online wishes to sign up, and then do the math.
Especially if you initiate that procedure. You have to initiate it and
Yeah.
know that people are gonna do it. Will there be hiccups at first? But if they get used to doing it, they'll do it.
Way to say it, when you announce property owner comments and agenda items first, anybody here, then you have that come up first.
Well, and you could do a sign-in sheet ahead of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Send something to the board saying, I would like to speak at tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
I think they should be here and sign up, but because a lot of people.
We allow them to do
no-shows.
it.
You know,
But
we
then the question
usually
is,
don't
how do you
have,
vet
we usually don't have a lot of Zoom.
Well, we sometimes do, I
Yeah.
mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Usually it's maybe one.
Tom, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'm just, somehow or other we need to differentiate the different topics, like was brought up. You know, so many people want to speak on just one topic, and there's other topics other people want to speak on, so 2 people.
Gotcha. Yeah, we could have 6, whatever, and then, okay, 2 of you wanna talk about something else or whatever, we gotta find out.
So on the sign-up sheet, we're gonna have, do you want
Yeah.
to speak?
What topic are you
Topic,
speaking of,
what
yeah?
agenda item?
What
we're speaking
agenda
of.
item, yeah?
Yeah.
Be interesting to look at the county, because I'm sure I bet you there's a whole form there of if you wanna speak, and you could see how do they do it to be able to tell, are people speaking to agenda items, or are they wanting to address something else?
Okay, so currently there's no statement in the bylaws provisions, the proposed bylaw revisions there that says anything about how we're gonna manage it. It just says that we allow people to comment on agenda items or anything, any issue affecting the association. So I think we can safely leave it that way with the understanding that at a later time, we can.
Fine-tune it.
Adopt rules.
So what we're talking about is policy more than.
Right, it's not the
Yes.
bylaws, yeah. And so, I think the motion would be, does the board approve, managing owner comments through policy and not the bylaws? How's that?
Yep.
I wish you could, you said it so nicely. Did you get that, anyone? 'Cause
I think I did.
She's
Okay, go
trying to
for
write
it.
it down right now.
Go for it, John.
Managing
So are we leaving section 15 as is then?
by policy,
Yes.
not the bylaws. No one can read this scratch. Okay, I think I've got it. I move that the board approve managing owner comments by policy and not the bylaws.
Second.
Who seconded it? Right? Oh, Jean.
Jean.
All in favor? That's unanimous.
Okay, the next issue, is the executive work group. So this relates to the emergency, definition that
Where are we at?
Page 22,
22.
yep, middle of the page.
Oh, well, that's where the executive work group is described, but the reason for that is we used to have an executive committee. And the purpose of the executive committee, which would have been in Article 5, under all the other committees, right, was the association needed a method to take quick action in the event that the board could not be convened to make a board decision in an emergency, right? And in the past, it's been used to do things like authorize additional funding for snow plows on day 27 of a blizzard.
Yeah, right, emergency type stuff.
right, or, the executive committee approved capital funding for, efforts for an outside service to come in December of 2024 to clear the roads of downed trees and limbs. Right, and it was, we didn't have enough time to get the whole board together to listen to my reasons why we needed that. So the executive committee did convene and then made that decision to approve it. And then it was brought back to the board for ratification, but the statute does not allow that committee to do it. Instead, they define that the board in an emergency can be convened without the same notice as is otherwise required, and they loosen up the requirements on bringing the board together to make those decisions, so you no longer need an executive committee.
Are those meetings generally open to the public?
Which ones?
Like
Emergency meeting?
executive meeting?
They are supposed to be noticed. In an emergency, sometimes it is not possible to.
But if anybody wanted to show up for you, it was happening, they could show up.
Is that how it's-
Sometimes it's been online.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been like that.
Yeah, I've never seen one, or I didn't know how it worked.
I didn't think you had executive meetings open to the public.
No, we do not.
That's
We're talking
right.
about,
No,
we're talking about emergencies right now.
Emergency.
We're talking about
Emergency
emergencies,
situation.
this is what we're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about, I guess we're going to the executive work group. I just wonder how this functions. I don't really know how it works, and I'm just asking questions
I'm
about
the
it.
person that created this term executive working group, and I did so because there was no other way to say, okay, when are you guys gonna get together and prepare an agenda? How are you gonna do it? How are you gonna figure out what are we gonna do, who's responding, what's doing? When are you execs gonna work together and do this? Because you're not gonna do it at a board meeting. So how are you gonna do it? And since they eliminated the term the executive committee, it's like, okay, so we have the business of the corporation to run, and we can't show up in here and say, okay, guys, what's the agenda this week? So who's gonna do that? And how are you gonna get it done? It wasn't, I didn't create it thinking, oh, there's a big emergency once or twice a year. No, it's just business as usual. How are we gonna conduct business? That was our conversation. Jog with you in DRC meeting?
There are times, how do I say it, when we will continue an item, you know, and we'll say, hey, let's bring that back, like, for instance, with Mitch. You know, he said, you know, volunteered for this and that they could come back and stuff. But it's like, sometimes when you're setting an agenda, then you go, well, you know, we've got Mitch coming back with that summary that he and Sean were gonna do, you know, which, you know, you've got 2 meetings.
Yeah.
And, you know, which one do we want to put it at? You put it at one, and if one fills up, then you put it at the other, and you put it down there. But it's like, sometimes we forget, at least I found when I was secretary, that we get so much stuff where stuff would be coming back, and to remind everybody, hey, we have to bring this back and we have to act upon it.
Hey, you know, if you're the secretary, a treasurer, you got anything that's going through the committee right now that needs to be put in front of the board? Oh, yeah, I got 2 or 3 items. Oh, okay. Oh, how are you gonna communicate all that? Well, I think you have to assemble the essential players, which in our case are the execs, to be able to structure the work of the board so that we're efficient and not sitting here till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Getting close.
Not my fault. I blame Joanne. She was very thorough in doing this.
so yeah, that's the basic thing, is there is a lot of operational work that goes into preparing agendas and materials for the board. And,
It's chaos if you don't have it structured.
right, that said, does it require meetings? I don't know, I mean, you can do a lot through email, we could create a document share in the cloud and do stuff there. But the association has traditionally had an executive committee which maybe once or twice a year, maybe, took action in an emergency.
Yeah, maybe.
But did work diligently all year long on the stuff behind the scenes.
I think the membership would fall over in a faint if they found out how many hours the exec put in assembling the work of governance.
Yeah. So the description of the emergency powers are on page 20, if anybody wants to review those. It's a big red section and a big blue box. And you can see that the board may call an association meeting to respond to an emergency by giving notice to the unit owners in any manner that is practical and appropriate under the circumstances. So that's pretty much carte blanche in an emergency,
Right?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have to wait for the views to come out, you know, like this is what we have to do currently.
That's true.
Now,
on the day-to-day business, how are we gonna do it?
right, but I'd like to remind everybody of what I said in the memo, okay, which is 4 members of the board are not a quorum.
Yep.
Okay, we can do privately anytime anyways.
Yeah, there's no restriction, you can't take action, but you don't take action if you're doing an agenda, right?
No,
Like,
Wednesday.
yeah, so.
So on November 8th, when there's a new board, and let's say, a lot of new people, off you go, how are you gonna do it? I don't know. Well, send emails back and forth to everybody.
Well, but according to the attorney, you're not supposed to be doing a whole lot of that emailing back and forth.
You might have to have some kind of informal working group to sit down once a week and say, what are we doing?
That's a good idea.
I'm playing the Richard Davis part here, and you really should not be using emails in between.
It's true, we've been advised over the years.
Yep.
So, that,
There you have it, that's the.
there you have it.
Right, like, the sense about this on the part of the community is that the intent is to make things secret. Well, I understand that, but the fact is that that group can't take any action.
Yeah.
They can just chat about things and come up
Not
with
a quorum.
agendas.
So I'm trying to understand, is an informal meeting that could happen at any time? You give somebody a call and say, let's talk about this issue and maybe try to get it on the agenda? Or is it a more formalized thing?
No, it's
It's informal.
informal, that's the purpose of calling it a work group instead of
So
a
if you call it a
committee.
work group, does it mean it's always the same people, or?
Yeah, it would be
Yes.
It would
appointed.
always be the same 4 people, I guess?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
The
the
execs,
execs.
because they're the ones that know what's supposed to be coming in front of the board.
But if 2 people got together, would that still be the group?
Why not? Hey,
I don't know.
Hey, treasurer, you got anything going on this week? No, I got nothing. Great, I'll just meet with the president, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
Joanne will tell us what we're doing.
You know, but it's nice, like with the treasurer, you know, yeah, Joanne will bring things, but sometimes finance knows that, well, we had 5 capital requests in front of us. Well, if you know that there are 5 capital requests that are gonna go on a meeting, you might be thinking, what else can we put on this? You know, yes, there's certain things like we basically have outlined that when we do our financials, when we do our committee reports, but it's like, then you fill in those empty spots of what's going forward. Let's say Keith comes back with numbers for Barn 6. He may, when they meet in a meeting of the execs, go, I finally have something that needs to come before, and we need to make an announcement to the membership at the board meeting and discuss. So then you put that on that agenda. But it makes no sense to keep bringing it forward if he doesn't have the information that we need, and it's why it's functional.
Okay, so I have a question first.
I was just gonna make a motion, just to.
No,
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
let me ask you a question, and then you can keep your motion in your head, and Timmy will write it down. So I have a question on page 22, right, section 12. So at the bottom of the page, it says, the executive group, work group may perform such other duties as specified by the board, blah, 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 provided, however, the executive work group may not take or authorize any action on behalf of the association without a vote of the board. So before, we would take action, like for a request, an emergency request or something like that, and the board would ratify that. Is this saying we can no longer ratify?
Correct,
That's
that's
it.
changed in the statute.
Wow, so how does that work then?
So if you go back to page 20.
Yeah,
That's how
We call an emergency
The
meeting of the board.
emergency, yep,
so, and then you have to have a quorum with the board.
Yeah, you do.
You have to have
Yeah.
5 members.
And it could be a conference call.
Well, you have 4
Yeah.
execs anyway, so you just need one other
Member to.
to get in line with what's happening and hopefully
It's just the
we're not
thing-
all blown apart somewhere.
That's right.
Keith, the thing that becomes different, that you're not paying attention to, that I think is important, is when these emergencies come up and the board votes, not only can they vote that there's an emergency, let's say like the
Another
Gulf
cyclone.
the Gulf Bridge that had to
Okay.
be replaced, that washed out. So let's say they come together and they say, hey, the bridge is washed out. And it's gonna, let's say somebody's come, hey, it's gonna be at least $500,000. They can, at that meeting, present a special assessment that becomes effective immediately.
The board could vote on that.
The board.
Yes.
The board would vote on that.
And it says it says here, that that if it's protecting it, that's the amount of the vote that needs to be, but it says the special assessment becomes effective immediately or in accordance with the terms of the vote. And the board may spend funds paid on the special assessment only in accordance with that action. But basically, you put it into effect immediately. It isn't waiting for a vote.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 20 in that whole section.
Oh,
It's
okay.
under 27.3 on down.
Yeah.
It's just y'all need to be aware of what this law says, you really do.
But, I mean, that is an
Linda's been
emergency.
telling everyone that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, Mitch?
Sure.
Motion?
Make a motion, on Article 4, Section 12. The board, we retain the desire to include the description of an executive work group in the revised bylaws.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, so did we vote on keeping section 2? I don't remember. I don't think we did.
No, we did not.
I don't think we did.
Okay. So page 2, which is Article 1, Section 2. We heard from Linda that she's skeptical. My response to her comment was that if the blue provisions don't pass, this won't go in. So it'll, if they do pass, it will go in and it'll be relevant.
Then the only thing I would do to change that is somewhere put in there the date of 2028. Where now it just could, if we voted and the vote went through tomorrow, this would say what it says.
Yeah.
And but people wouldn't know what half of what's in this 2028 stuff that we've already discussed and gone, oh, that's really what it says?
So beginning is it January 2028, right?
Yes.
Beginning January 2028, the association shall be governed, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
you want to
Okay.
put that,
But let's keep that for the measures. Because
All right.
in the measure, we can say, if the community approves the 2028 proposed revisions, they would become effective on January 1st,
I
2028.
think that's smart.
Yep, that works.
I like that, it's a good move. Good move, Julie.
So basically, we need to make a motion that says, Article 1, Section 2 should be included or should be omitted, and then people can vote whichever way you want to do it.
Okay, I move that section 1, Article
1, Section 2.
Article 1, Section 2 be included in the bylaws revisions.
Second. All in
Was
favor?
that Keith?
Yeah, it was. All in favor?
I object,
Unanimous.
Oh, so you're no?
I'm a no.
Okay.
Yours is right.
So you're not supposed to raise your hand.
Confused me
up.
right there.
I just want you to know, everybody else And that's why I said I'm a no.
Well, it'll be on the, okay, don't worry, yeah.
As long as it's clarified that,
I liked it, Linda, it was good. I'm a no. All in favor? I'm a no.
Really, we need Robert here in person to tell us his rules. Okay, so now we can go back to, the bylaw measures, I'm sorry, the ballot measures,
okay.
okay? So, shall the bylaw revisions proposed to, align with 2026 Washington State and Iowa statutes be approved or rejected? I think that one kind of works if it makes sense to people. But for measure 3, I think we want to revise it to say, shall the bylaw provisions proposed to align with Washington State statutes that become effective in 2028 be approved to become effective on January 1st, 2028?
So we need a new motion then. You're gonna have to divide it. You only have one motion here with your request.
Yeah, we'll have to.
So you're gonna have to make that new motion and divide them.
Well, it actually says, shall the bylaw revision proposed to align with Washington State statutes that become effective in 2028 be approved or rejected?
Oh, so why don't we just take that out of there? Should the bylaw revisions proposed to align with Washington State statutes become effective in 2028? I want to say the blue box revisions.
I think it's not so bad to add it second, that the way you said it first, just so it's very, very clear. They become effective in 2028, be approved to take effect in Sudden Valley.
And then they
In
can
the
just say
same
yes or no, to take effect or on January 1st, 2028.
That way we're making it very clear so they understand that.
The
Okay,
difference between 26 and 28.
So to take, if we just add in that to take effect on January 21st, 2028.
and just, you line out or rejected, so should they, the statutes, the revisions proposed to align with Washington State statutes that become effective in 2028 be approved to take effect on January 1st, 2028?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, all right, so,
On January 1st, yeah?
yeah.
Yep.
So there are two, the board has given direction for changes to the bylaws, which have been recorded by the secretary and noted by me. But the board has not voted to adopt the bylaws as revised tonight, right? So that is something that you guys need to do, and then you can vote on the rewording of the measure in the agenda with confidence that it will come back to you with the full explanation for further approval before it's used in the ballot.
And when will that come back?
Next regular board meeting,
On the
is it the 10th?
10th, yeah.
We can't do that,
Why?
because in theory, we're supposed to we approve the budget, but if you wait until then, you're gonna risk missing the window to turn things over to the printer.
Could do it on the 3rd.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we'll have to be on the 3rd.
You have to deal with the budget, and you're gonna have to deal with exactly what are those measures gonna say, and that includes the description. It isn't just
Yeah, I
the
know.
ballot, it's the whole enchilada. It's not, we haven't even discussed that here tonight.
Okay, well, there's.
Yeah, I know,
Okay, so, we've gotten your input on the agenda. And since it has to come back and be approved on the 3rd, do you want to just defer a vote?
Yeah, I would think so.
What do you think, Linda? Are you okay with that? I mean, we're working together on all of this stuff, so.
That's all all I've got to say.
I think that was yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there's
I
one
think
more-
because there were changes, there were corrections here and there. I think Joanne mentioned the thing about the candidates and that whole business going on with the appeal and everything.
Right.
But it's like, the problem for you, Joanne, is timelines. And we're talking AMS would like to have these, what amounts to 35 pages. We've seen a real drill down option they'd like to print that ahead of time.
Right, they want that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the board has voted on all of the issues
Yes.
that remain.
Yes.
And we have the votes recorded, and I've taken distinct notes about what is or is not to be included. So at this time, I request,
corrected.
yeah, I request that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the corrected proposed bylaw revisions document that will be voted on in two separate measures by the members at the 2026 AGM.
Okay, I'll read that motion. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the corrected bylaw revisions document to be voted on in two separate measures by the members at the 2026 AGM.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ray.
Ray?
All in favor?
You sure that's
Aye.
not a no, right?
That's unanimous.
No.
That's unanimous.
I still have my own personal,
But necessary.
all right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have
We
looked
can
at
move on, or
these
we can take a
bylaws.
quick 2-minute break, or we just move on and finish. We're almost done.
This is quick.
Mr. President,
We're quick.
is it true that this is the paperwork we just got handed to us on the ACC proposed change tonight?
Mhm.
That was a handout?
Yeah.
I haven't read it, and I'm really tired, and we have a closed session. Can I ask that that be tabled until our next meeting, unless it's time critical?
It is kind of.
Is this time critical? Oh, well.
Well, and get ready for a lot of questions, because this girl's ready to ask them.
Okay.
All right.
Item,
I'm sorry. We'll move on to new business, item D, 6D, request for approval for the AC policy change. Joanna?
the purpose of this memo is to request approval of a proposed change to AC policies intended to improve enforcement of the requirement to make continuous progress toward the completion of new construction projects. Sudden Valley's AC, or architectural control policies, include a clear direction on the importance of completing new construction projects within a 12-month timeframe, as shown in the following excerpt from policies. 14.7.7 says, completion of construction time limits. The construction of any single-family detached residence or addition on any platted property in Sudden Valley, the plans for which are approved by the committee, must begin within 90 days after approval, and the exterior, including exterior finish and minimum landscaping, and final inspection must be completed no later than 12 months after the start of construction. A, failure to commence construction of any single-family residence within 90 days after ACC approval will require that the plan be reapproved by the ACC. And B, consistent progress must be made throughout the construction project. The ACC shall specify to the property owner what constitutes a violation under this section, and shall issue a notice of violation or non-compliance which may result in penalties and/or increased construction deposit requirements. Failure to complete construction by the 12-month deadline can result in penalties. See section 14.8.9. Subsection B states that consistent progress must be made throughout the construction project, but does not define how progress will be monitored or measured. In the past few years, several projects have been abandoned by the original builder, significantly lengthening the active construction period. In some cases, the projects that failed to make continuous progress were sold to another builder who was willing to complete them. The proposed policy change seeks to motivate builders to more quickly identify a project they can no longer complete and to motivate potential buyers to consider taking on construction already in progress. SVCA's restrictive covenants give the ACC authority to review and approve proposed new construction and exterior alteration projects. That's their authority. It's in the restrictive covenants. But the ACC does not, however, have any role in ensuring compliance with AC policies. The responsibility for ensuring compliance rests with SVCA's general manager and staff. And that's in the bylaws. We propose to modify the AC policy to remove reference to the ACC and specifying what constitutes a violation. The suggested revision is shown below, and we use the same thing. If it's strike through, we're deleting it, and if it's highlighted in, well, it's different. If it's highlighted in yellow, we're adding it, okay? So, consistent progress must be made throughout the construction project. The AC inspector shall monitor the progress of each new construction project, requesting information from the owner if visible progress is not observed during any monthly inspection of the work site. If consistent progress towards completion is not being made, SVCA shall issue a notice of violation or noncompliance which may result in penalties and/or increased construction deposit requirements. So what we've done is to remove the need for the ACC to specify to the property owner what constitutes a violation. Because I don't have any examples of that, and I have 3 projects right now that were abandoned and then sold on. And then there are 2 more that we're aware of that are being abandoned, that have been abandoned, and they're trying to convert it. And there's all these questions that arise about how to do that and who gets the deposit and everything else.
Clarification, convert to a new owner.
Yeah, sell the project. So we're saying to strike failure to complete construction and to restate it as, if construction will not be complete by the 1-year deadline, the owner must apply for an extension at least 30 days before the deadline. If an extension is not obtained, a stop work order will be issued until the extension is obtained. And that's congruent with the other elements of the policy that just define the different extension periods. In addition to changing those things, we're suggesting that we need to add 2 additional provisions. We would add 14.7.8, transfer of ownership in active construction projects. In situations where the original owner is no longer able or willing to make progress toward the completion of an approved new construction project, owners are encouraged to find a qualified buyer for the project. If no progress is made toward completion for 3 consecutive months and no action has been taken to identify a qualified buyer, the original deposit may be forfeit. Okay, so that's the stick. Okay? If the property is sold to a buyer who demonstrates the ability to complete the project, the building deposit will be used to cover any outstanding fees or fines assessed on the project, and the balance credited towards the deposit required of the new owner. So it gives us the opportunity to say, okay, you guys are transitioning ownership. Are there any fees or fines? Okay, we're taking them out of your deposit, and then, oh, it leaves a balance of $16,000, that goes to the new owner, and by the way, new owner, you owe us $4,000 because you're required to have a $20,000 deposit. So it makes it clear who owns what, who's responsible for what. 14.7.9 says, extension of the original 1-year construction timeline. If a new construction project has made no progress toward completion for 3 consecutive months, and the property is sold to an owner who demonstrates the ability to complete the project, SVCA will grant an additional 12 months to the new owner at no additional charge, except that the new owner will be responsible for making the required building deposit. So they get to reset the clock, which makes it a far more economically advantageous situation for someone to take over a project in progress. Okay? Here's an example. In the spring of last year, a property was approved, a new construction project was approved. The builder cleared the lot and excavated. Then they stopped. No work has been done on it since then. They would have to apply for their first extension, which is expensive. And then they wouldn't, that first extension only gives them 6 months, then they'd have to apply for a second extension, which is twice as expensive as the first extension. So with margins as tight as they are in some of these projects, the builders are not that willing to take on these projects who've been abandoned. And the classic example of that, projects being abandoned, is on Longshore, right? And that's a very different situation. It was owned by a different builder that owns it now, but the impact on a neighborhood is easy to understand when you think about projects that have not been completed and are just standing there, waiting. So I don't know why this has become a problem that's so prevalent with projects being approved, begun, and then not completed. But like I said, we have two right now that are in that limbo state where no progress is being made and we don't really have a way to move them forward, which is why this is time sensitive. So I'll stop talking.
All right, so I'll read the motion and get to the conversation. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the proposed changes to the AC policies.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Open for comments and questions. Jean?
So I have a few questions. So with this policy in builders that have these buildings that have standing there for 6 or 7 years, are they gonna have a chance to get extensions now and go forward as like it's new construction? How will they be able to say, yeah, I'm gonna apply for an extension?
So this policy would only apply to projects that are currently in the window where we are calculating the distance from approval, and they're still within the 12 months. That's why we're trying to do this. Projects that were abandoned and have expired in their first year already, this wouldn't apply to them. But we have adopted an approach for some of those projects. We've said that they can proceed if they reapply as if it were a new construction project and then submit as-built plans along with obviously the rest of the whole plan to how it was going to be completed for approval by the ACC.
And the idea is to get, Sudden Valley wants these homes completed, so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for them to do that in a fair way. And I think we're trying to avoid the situation coming up in the future.
Right, it becomes much harder to resolve when it just sits forever and ever, which is why we're trying to be proactive about saying, okay, we know this happened. So here's the structure that will guide it. And
So it's not applicable to existing structures that have been abandoned, basically?
correct.
Any other questions?
I do.
We'll go with Linda had her hand up first, and we'll go with Mitch.
Thank you.
No, go with Mitch first.
Okay, Mitch.
Maybe he'll ask.
First one on 14.7.9, the last one sentence, I would recommend that you change the word making to fulfilling, because they don't have to make a new $20,000 deposit, they have to fulfill the building deposit.
Thank you.
And then I worry in 7.8 and 7.9 that it's almost like it's a slam. There's no discussion of with a reasonable cause. I mean, they run into a problem, there's no reasonableness. They can't come to you and say, all right, look, here's our problem right now. I mean, I'm not talking about whining. I'm talking about, we had a builder once that was a guy that was building his own house. He broke his back, and we gave him a big delay for free. This is how he structured it. But it just doesn't seem that you have without a reasonable cause, it's just harsh. I'm not saying soften it so you give everyone an excuse. I'm just making sure that we have some reasonableness in here, that we're not taking someone's $20,000 deposit away without basis. And then the question comes up, it's like, you're gonna take his deposit away. On what grounds are we gonna take $20,000 away from a builder? Do we have a cost? Is it a fine? I mean, that's a lot of money. So what is our basis for seizing and taking it? I worry that we will step into a landmine on something like that. I don't know, does anyone feel that?
I think I agree with you that I don't see that either. I thought we didn't talk about that if someone came to you with a reasonable, something happened, this is the reason why I can't finish it right now.
Yeah, so basically that's covered in the change up top. The AC inspector monitors the progress. and requests information from the owner if visible progress is not observed.
So there's some discretion in that.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we need, so that's what it was just.
We should have something in here, so there is some discretion for reasonableness. But again, the 20,000, just saying that we're gonna seize it, I worry about.
It says may.
Yeah, there's $20,000 on the table. I would be worried about someone seizing it. We may seize it. Is it gonna be a fine? Is it gonna be some kind of basis? I mean, on what basis? You didn't meet a deadline, we may seize your $20,000 deposit.
How would you word it?
I'd be worried that I'm wording something that I'm gonna lose in court.
No, I'm saying, how would you word it?
How would you put it
How would I
in
do it?
reasonableness?
That we may start hitting you with fines, and those fines will multiply. They will
Come out of
continue
your direct deposit.
accumulatively up to and including your entire deposit. I would be fining them, and it would be incrementally on time, based on time. Now, writing that up, that would take some wordsmithing, but we have similar wording in our rules and regs on homes that are extremely messy, that you get a fine and it begins to build. I would look to the wording there. Because, look, you've given this person notice, this is an abandoned project. If this is not, you don't kick this thing into afterburner and make it happen, we're gonna hit you with a fine for construction delay. And if it doesn't happen, and if it continues for another 15 days, second fine, another 15 days, third fine.
Okay, well, here's my suggestion.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, but here's a suggestion. In 14.7.8, where it says, if no progress is made toward completion for 3 consecutive months, and no action has been taken to identify a qualified buyer, the owner may request a special extension from the ACC.
There's some discretion.
Right, and so that would be like the opportunity to say,
I've got a problem.
right,
Showing that we're being reasonable.
right. However, period after that, from the ACC, if no request is made, the deposit may be forfeit. How's that? The original deposit may be forfeit. So we're giving them the opportunity, we're giving the ACC, which is the body that takes into account the concerns of the community, right? Represents the members. So if they give the builder a break, that's the right place to put it.
I see that we're showing the reasonableness, all right? Now, it's still the question of the basis, all right? Are you gonna structure the fees and fines schedule to now install the new? And I think this is where you might do it. I'm not trying to argue, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not. But if you wanna propose to change the fees and fines, where they're gonna,
We already have an escalating schedule. If they don't complete in 12 months, at month 11, they're required to apply for an extension, and there's a cost for that.
this could be at month 6, this could be at month 4.
Right, but it gives them the way to stop the clock if the ACC agrees. Otherwise, they would have to apply for the extensions to keep the project active, right? So I think that does give a loophole, but that's my opinion, and Daniel's opinion, I think, be relevant.
I think Mitch is trying to say too, at month 2 or month 1 even, a builder may have to abandon a project for a particular reason or whatever. And then maybe that's where the fine starts, not at month 11, we start getting the fees, and then maybe we can get there quicker to get to a full deposit. And then I don't want to be the devil's advocate either, I'm sorry, but as legal look at this, like what, do we have rights to take a deposit?
That's a chunk of change.
Well, there are already precedents
Okay.
for taking the deposit. we do that in the situation where an owner allows occupancy prior to the final inspection. So there is precedent for it. And
See, we have a basis there, Joanne, because they went ahead, didn't pass final inspection. There may be things that we have to have done to finish that project for them, and we'll use that money to go do it.
no.
You would
it's
not do
just-
that?
No, it's just leverage.
Oh, that's what I used the money for when I seized it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
the legality of that could be debated as well, I don't know, but this gives an opportunity to a buyer who finds themselves, or an owner who finds themselves in a difficulty to appeal to the group that approved the project in the first place, which was established to safeguard the interests of the community in approving new construction project. So I think that is pretty good, and they could do that at any time when they realize that they're not making progress. And we're not saying that a lot of those people are already taking steps to transition the project. We have a project right now, the people wanted to sell it before it was even approved. And the buyer of the proposed construction project made the offer contingent on receiving approval from the ACC. So this is already happening, but we don't have any mechanism to either incentivize it or to track it or to manage it.
I don't understand why we even have a dog in the race if a builder's got a house and they've got a permit to construct, and he says, I'm gonna sell this to another builder. Why, we have a dog in the race to not have the other builder take it over.
That's what's been happening, it's happened multiple
What's
times.
the problem with that?
The problem is that we want to incentivize them to do that sooner instead of letting projects just sit idle.
Squalor, okay.
Yeah.
Becomes a derelict project. So the motive was to incentivize, like she's saying, incentivize these from having to happen quicker instead of sitting there and just dilapidating.
Keith, question.
I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
So we start out with saying the AC inspector shall monitor the progress of each new construction project. We haven't been doing that already? Shame on us. You know, if we're looking that these people have to be done in a year, then the AC inspector should be out there, I guess, once a month. Say, because it says monthly inspection.
We're not doing that?
I believe it should be our compliance officer, that's just me, and that's another issue.
But
We'll go,
I'm just saying,
No, I
if
agree.
we're not even doing that already,
Shame on us.
shame on us.
Except that the bylaws or the policies say the ACC shall specify to the property owner what constitutes a violation under this section. We have no definition for defining progress,
yeah.
and we do actually monitor the progress, but
Well, there's
without
a,
any definition, there's no basis for it.
how do I say it? You'll know if somebody's completing it. There's, I believe, still guidelines in any permit with us of things you have to have signed off on correctly, like your foundation, this sort of thing, that the inspector would go out and look at anyway. So it's like, if you're not meeting a couple of those things that are already out there, what's going on?
I think he's probably aware of these things, but it's just not reported and acted upon. Is that
There is no
correct?
way to act on it. There is, because of the way it's worded.
But then there should be in a way to record it.
Jean's trying to say something.
Yeah, we'll go with Jean.
So when we were building our
I'll take a turn
house, we
again.
did have to have an inspector come out several times, this is like 2020. We had to have to look at our fence, they looked at our driveway, looked at a number of things. And when we closed and moved on our house, we were gonna get fined, because they said we never had the inspector look at this, we never were in accordance to these guidelines. Well, in fact, we had total records of what we had done, and we showed it back to the GM at that time, that no, you were wrong, we get our deposit back because we have completed all these things.
What year was that?
So it was 2020.
That was Joe, so that was John Gordon that was doing
I
it.
don't know who the guy, Stu was working with the guy, but there was at one point somebody that we had to call and say, hey, come look at our fence, hey, come look at our driveway. I don't know what else we had to have them do, but
All
yeah,
right.
never they were gonna do this.
We'll go Tom then, Ray.
Do we require the builder to provide a construction schedule at the time of their submittal? because that would be a good way to gauge progress.
Ooh, true, good point.
Great.
Joanne's asking for a mechanism so that we can follow up on these abandoned houses, and we have 2 presently, probably maybe 3 or 4. I think if we approve this thing, how fast can we implement it? I'm for it.
It doesn't go to current abandoned houses,
So
it doesn't go to current abandoned houses, it's for future abandoned
For
houses.
future,
Yeah, not for current.
we
Well,
can't put
it helps, there are
You can't
current projects that
current, yeah,
have been
current.
abandoned that this would apply to.
Yeah, so it's not gonna help us on the abandoned ones that we have now? It's too late?
Well, but there are other measures in place for the projects of which we're aware. So, yeah, I mean,
So this is really
this is-
futuristic is what we're talking about here?
this helps with more current projects. The ones that have been sitting and sitting and sitting are a different case, but they're addressed in a different way.
But are they addressed as far as penalties, or I would assume if they've been sitting, they've completely lost their deposit?
Yes, that's true.
Especially on the old ones, because the deposits were so low.
It always says that you may be fined, you know, but it's like, then once again, this is a discretionary thing, you know?
So we were more aggressive, Joanne was, but she was here prior, then when Michael came on, he was far less aggressive, almost non-aggressive. And so we went backwards, took a step backwards, unfortunately. Do we have any other questions on this? Okay, so I've already read the motion, it's been a half hour, I'll read it again. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the proposed changes to
As
the...
revised.
Oh,
They revised it.
It was revised, yeah.
oh, revised, yeah, we added the word fulfilling, yeah. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the revised changes to the AC policies. Get a second?
Second.
Tom, we got Tom already down, so that's good. Any other questions? You ready to vote? All in favor?
One. So Mitch and Linda are not, we got 1, 2.
I'm voting no.
Are you, where are you?
I'm okay, I think it needs more wording, smithing in there, wordsmithing, but it still passes anyways by majority, so,
So you're a no too, Keith?
yeah.
Who voted yes?
I'm sure it'll happen, it'll take place, but it'll come.
It needs more work.
Yep.
I like the concept and I like where it's going. I think it needs more work.
I believe it'll come around. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move into closed session at 9:36 PM.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. We'll take a 5-minute break, give everyone a chance to walk around. Thank you so much for your input tonight, and
Wonderful, thanks for all your work, I mean, it's all the time really.
I hope this gave you a satisfaction of all your governmental needs.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Spencer, don't turn it on yet, whatever you.
Okay, coming out of closed session at 10:51 PM. The following action will be taken by the board. We'll make a motion that the board of directors approve the resolution regarding the article and the views.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. I will now read that resolution. All right, whereas the Sudden Valley Views, the newsletter, published an article in the August 2026 edition entitled, "Please make informed decision when you vote." Whereas the article was published under the auspices of the executive committee. Whereas the article contained a sentence suggesting that individuals who may run for the board positions would be inexperienced. Whereas the board was unaware that the article would be published and did not authorize it. Whereas concerns had been legitimately raised by members in the community regarding the use of the views by an official body, i.e. the board of directors or a committee, utilizing the views to support or oppose candidates for board positions. Whereas the board believes that the newsletter is for free exchange of ideas, but that in the interest of ensuring elections are fair and impartial, the newsletter should not be used by official bodies of the association for supporting or opposing candidates for the board of directors. And whereas the board desires to formally denounce the article to the extent that it conveys the impression that the executive committee characterized potential board candidates as inexperienced. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the board officially denounces the article for the reasons set forth above, and the board hereby directs the document review committee to take this matter under consideration as appropriate and propose bylaw revision prohibiting the publication of articles from the board or a committee which either support or oppose certain candidates for the board. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Take the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second. All right, that's 10:53 adjournment.